Welcome to Flames Central Game Day here in the Hill City, brought to you by Earthright Mid-Atlantic Solar and Energy Efficiency. Rhett McGibbon here alongside. We got a little yacht talk tonight.
It's
Joey
time,
is in the house.
Rhett McGibbon, it's the Flames. It's in Central Virginia. Yeah. And it's game day, baby.
It is game day.
It's a Flame Central game day.
Little midweek on the mountain action for you. Pat Kelly here as well.
Just sitting meagerly.
Yeah, just
by.
A little calmer. Well, hey, unfortunately for Flames fans, the streak is over. Hard to believe it's been 697 days between regular season losses for the Flames. The last one came on back in 2022. It was against the Aggies. That was the day the news broke about Hugh Freeze heading to Auburn. And then this past week, a loss to Kennesaw State. Here's the question I have for you. First off, let's go on the positive side. How impressive is it to be able to go on a win streak? You don't lose during the regular season in that amount of time in college football today.
Well, I mean, for me, it was extremely impressive from the aspect of that they played with fire for so long.
That's true.
Right? I mean, you go back into last year, we were standing right here, and I think it was against Sam Houston State.
Yes.
And they had 4 shots down at the goal line at the end of the game to beat them, and then you can go again, especially then this year, you go game after game after game, and sooner or later, as Pat Kelly always tells his young child, if you play with fire too long, you're gonna get burned, and the Flames got burned.
All right, Pat, let me pose this to you then. When you look at this loss, and in all honesty, it's a tough loss against Kennesaw State, regarded as one of the lower teams at the FBS level in their first year at the FBS. What does that do to you when you look at bowl games? Like, how much is a loss like that going to hurt you?
I mean, it certainly hurts it. You were in the discussion for a CFP playoff spot on the outside looking in, so that kind of goes by the wayside. But as a player, you're not focused on your bowl game. You have to be. It sounds cliche. You have to be focused on who you're playing next. But to your point, it does certainly hurt you from a bowl game perspective. You're not looking at a playoff. You're looking at a Myrtle Beach Bowl, a Cure Bowl. Not to throw shade at those bowls, but it certainly knocks you from here down several pegs.
All is not lost, though, for the Flames as we take a look now at the Conference USA standings. And this is a Liberty team still very much in the mix. Sitting at 3-1, you have Western Kentucky at 3-0, Jacksonville State at 3-0. That's the team the Flames face tonight. And when you look at this group, like, how much of a spotlight is on the game tonight, Joe? Because if you drop another one, it's still mathematically plausible, but it's looking grim.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to look at when you start out on a season as a football coach, Jamie Chadwell, you say, okay, what is our first goal? Our first goal is to win a conference championship. And this game right here, right now, is a huge factor in whether that happens right now, especially if you have so much to prove after what happened last week. So what a big game it is for the Flames tonight.
Pat, when you look at this game, and this is a Liberty team that struggled to get out of the gate at times. There's been a lot of penalty problems. Can you basically say now this is the team? Like, there's that point in time early on where, like, oh, they'll snap out of it. The penalty problems will clear up. But are you at the point now where, like, this is who they are?
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying, when someone shows you who they are, you got to believe it. This team has shown us week in, week in, week out, in and out, that this is who they are. Several weeks now, they're ranked 132nd in the country in penalty yards per game, almost 100. They've proven that this is the team that they've got. You hope that they can just come and put a performance that can overcome the penalties that they inevitably will have tonight.
We're hoping for a great response tonight from the Flames, and the man tasked with that is Jamie Chadwell. He is standing by with Matt Warner.
All right, Coach, for the first time since you've been at Liberty, You're coaching coming off a loss. What's been the message this week? What do you hope to learn about your guys and the way they approach this one tonight?
Well, you know, one, we're resilient. We just talked a lot about just playing with some joy. You know, I think we're going to go two ways. This is going to reinvigorate us and allow us to refocus on things we can't control, or, you know, we're going to fall apart, one of the two. And I expect this team to play really well tonight. You know, arguably our best week of practice as far as just their focus and the mindset and playing for, you know, and preparing the right way. So last week, hopefully, would be the best things ever happened to us.
Jacksonville State's offense, no one stopped them in league play, over 50 a game. What do you need to do tonight that maybe nobody else has been able to do here of late against them?
Well, one, I think offensively they're 8th in the country in turnovers defensively, so they get the ball back to there. So we got to hold on to the ball. We got to stay on third down. We got to stay off the, you know, stay on the field, some of those things, and not turn it over. And then secondly, we can't give them extra chances. The way where they've been great offensively is it'll be 7-7, 7-7-7. The next time up, it's like 28-7 because somebody get a turnover, they give up a big play. We got to make them earn it all the way down the field and see if they can do that. And so our defense has to do a great job of making them earn it. And if we'll do that, and then, you know, maybe we can get some turnovers, which we hadn't in a while, and then, you know, and keep them from exploding.
Good luck tonight, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Playing with some joy, what's the response you want to see tonight? Because when you look at this, here's the leaders remaining in Conference USA play. There's still a lot of football to go and some big games for Liberty. Western Kentucky at Sam Houston. Obviously a massive game tonight as well. But what's the response you want to see from this group?
Well, I think when you hear Coach Chadwell talk about playing with joy, okay, so you have two aspects to when you're playing football, and that is, one, it is job-like, right? You have to treat it like it's a job. You can't be overjoyed like it's all fun and kicks and giggles, okay? But at the same time, if it becomes too job-like, it becomes too mundane. So what you want to be able to do is say, okay, let's find that balance between this is serious business, we got to get the job done, but we got to have fun doing it and enjoy playing. I think that's where they may have gotten a little bit out of whack, where it's become a little bit too much of a job for them.
Well, it's been all fun this season so far in conference play for Western Kentucky. You see the games remaining that are big on their schedule. 11:30 versus Jacksonville State. A lot of eyes are going to be on that one. Jacksonville State, after a tough start out of conference play, they did play some tough teams. They've been on a roll. 3-0 in CUSA. They have Western Kentucky coming up towards the end of the year. Sam Houston as well. That is not an easy team to deal with. Well, hey, friends, we want to remind you the game of the week coming up here shortly. Hard to believe basketball season is upon us. Duke Blue Devils coming into town to take on the Lady Flames. That game at November 7th at 7 p.m. We hope you tune in on ESPN+. Joining us now, head coach of the Lady Flames, Kerry Green. Coach, great to see you.
Thank you.
Good to have you
be here. Thank you.
Let's talk about Bella Smuda. You get your big back, her 5th year. How important is that to the team moving forward? Because you got some young, talented players surrounding her.
Right. We're certainly blessed. She was in a position that she had already graduated, but she wanted to come back and do some student teaching and finish up her master's. And she's certainly a very talented player inside, and she makes an impact. And yes, we got some young players around her. And well, Emma Hess is not too young, and neither is Jordan Hodges.
Okay, I'm thinking Asia Boone.
Yeah, now Asia Boone, and then we've got a good recruiting class and some people that are now healthy. Ping is back. She came off of ACL, and we're Emma Soltis. No one has seen her. She is basically a freshman that was set out all year last year. So we got some maturity along with some local talent or young players that are going to really impact our program as well.
Yeah, hey, Coach, you got Duke coming to town. You know I'm a Tar Heel. You know how much I despise Duke with a passion. I will empty the tank for you on that game. I might even bring a whole posse in from Chapel Hill to help the Lady Flames. Can you just let me know that you're going to leave it all out there to beat those darn Dukies?
I think he's fired up a little bit. Yeah. Maybe calm him down a little bit. No, we're going to give our very best, and we got high expectations. The girls have high expectations, and I'm confident in them. And it'll be a big challenge, and Yeah, it's early in the season, and we're having some great practices.
Nice.
We really are, and we got some good depth. And now they're good.
Yeah.
Okay, they went to the Sweet 16 and had an outstanding recruiting class, but we have had a great summer and great fall training, and we're healthy right now. So it's great to have them here.
Nice.
That's one of those programs that, you know, they just throw some money out there and get game guarantees, and I'm sorry to say, your Carolina team on the women's side, they would have 12 home games and 1 on the road before they even got an ACC. Go back. You can look historically, and that's what they would do. Yeah.
We're talking about Duke here, Coach.
But, yeah, we're talking about Duke. And I am grateful that they respect us enough to where they don't want to throw money out. They say, hey, we respect you. Let us come to your place, and you can come to ours. But you know what? They must love Liberty because they've decided to come up here twice.
Nice.
2 years in a row.
Nice.
With no guarantee for us to go back.
Coach, let me ask you one more question. Let me ask you one more question.
Okay.
You've been here a couple of years. Right? A few years, couple of years. How have you seen the ladies' game evolve from when you first started here to the explosion in women's basketball to what it is now, from, I guess, from a fundamental level, a talent level, and just the change of the game? What have you seen throughout your years since you've been here at Liberty?
Well, generally speaking, women's basketball is about 5 years behind men's basketball. And what you've seen that's overtaken men's basketball is a European-style play, you know, where you have five people out on a perimeter, all 5 can shoot, they can all drive. It's very hard to defend, and now the women's game has evolved. We were in traditional, you know, a point guard, 2 wings, and 2 post players. We still have that because of our post play is good, but we've had to make some changes and be progressive, and you know, to have any progress, you gotta have some changes, and it begins mentally and just training them. And we've made our adjustments, but I'll still take a 6-foot Katie Feenster-Matera now, who's on my coaching staff any day. You know, that's a first-round draft choice, right. So we're going to get that ball inside. Yeah. So you got to have balance, and we've moved from the Big South to Atlantic Sun to now Conference USA, and each move has been a progressive move to we're at a high level of a caliber in a conference, and not that we weren't, but you know, all the teams can beat you, and we're excited and playing teams like Tennessee and opening up at home with Duke, and then we follow right up on the 9th on Saturday against Cal Baptist, who's very good from the West Coast. They were the conference champions and went to the NCAA. Just Cal Baptist and Duke together was 50 wins, and both of them were in the NCAA, and Duke was in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Always great to talk to you. We're looking forward to November 7th.
Thank you.
All right, time to turn now to our Field Pass, brought to us by Carl Miller Realty. Joining us at field level, Elijah Canyon. Elijah, it was a good game for you last week, but unfortunately for the team, you dropped your first one. Can you kind of take us into the locker room and the vibe around the team through practice over the last 7 days?
We just been locked down. You know, obviously it sucks to lose, and everybody, you know, we hate to lose. You know, we're not used to losing, so we had the players in, you know, we got the team right, and we just approached practice even harder. You know, it was even more locked down, and we just ready to come out here and get it back.
Elijah, Pat Kelly here. You know, this Jacksonville State team will play a lot of that press man coverage, get in your face. Have you seen anything on film or from what they've put out there that really has you licking your chops in that matchup tonight in a one-on-one?
I mean, as a receiver, you just love one-on-ones. And, you know, it's just me versus him, so I just got to win my one-on-ones. All the receivers got to win their one-on-ones. As long as everybody win their one-on-ones, it'll be fine.
Hey, let's get it.
Night.
Everybody eats.
Sir.
Hey, Elijah, Joe Yock here. Hey, you're down in the red zone. The ball game's on the line. You got the choice between a slant for a touchdown, a fade for a touchdown, or you're working the back of the end zone to high point it for a touchdown. Where do you want the rock when it's all on the line?
I mean, the Lord has blessed me with, so much physical ability. I got to say, just throw me a fade ball.
Yeah, I like it. High point.
Well, great to hear. Elijah, thanks for the time. Best of luck tonight.
Appreciate it.
All right, we continue on with the field pass as we move onwards here to the Gamecocks. Cam Vaughn, redshirt freshman. He's been a treat to watch this season, and a guy I think a lot of Gamecocks fans are going to keep an eye on over the years. He's really starting to break out this year. Yeah,
certainly a guy, put into the boundary, kind of that X that that they've got. The last couple games averaging almost 20 yards per catch. I think he could be a matchup problem, especially for a secondary in Liberty that struggled this year, especially on really any type of double move. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use Cam Vaughn tonight, but I certainly think he could make some downfield plays.
Yeah, I think both Cam Vaughn and Michael Petway are, like Pat was talking about, 14 and 19 yards per catch. That it's when you have two of them, that's what really can make a difference. You can't just isolate one guy. So having two of those guys makes them such a threat in the passing game.
But this is a team that's primarily ground and pound. Like, they get it done in the run game. Is it an opportunity for Liberty defenders, the secondary, to kind of fall asleep on these wide receivers, and then boom, it's an explosive play?
Yeah, I mean, I think what happens is when it's just, football never changes, and that is this. If you can run the football, you're going to create more bodies at the line of scrimmage because you have to stop the run. You can't allow a team to spread you out and then run the ball. You've got to bring bodies in, and when you bring those bodies in, that then run sets up the pass, and that gives the opportunity, as Pat said, you get some of those one-on-ones on the outside. Liberty's job is going to have to shut down the run with their front seven so they don't have to commit so many bodies close to the line of scrimmage.
All right, let's go inside the numbers now, powered by Alcova Mortgage. And we go back to last week's loss for the Flames against Kennesaw State. The Owls had the game of the year in their case. And you look at this, there's lots of numbers here you kind of want to dive into, but especially defensively, when you look at the Owls on the year, according to PFF, they're the 5th worst offense in the nation, averaging only 15 points per game. They scored 28 against Liberty, 135 passing yards per game on average. They put up 189 on Liberty. Now, the offensive side of the ball as well for LU was just off. No rushing touchdowns. Quentin Cooley only had 9 touches, which is not typical for them. You see Caden Salter, his completion percentage, 2nd lowest this season. It has been a steady climb towards this, and finally, it all came together, Liberty suffering their first loss. But when you look at this, what were your big takeaways from this game?
I mean, they've kind of been sleepwalking all year, but I really sum this game up into a couple of things. One, the untimely penalties that they had, and then the inability to get off the field on 3rd down. Kennesaw converted over 50% on 3rd down, and it makes it really tough to get your offense out there if your defense just can't get a stop. Yeah, the run game was a focus for the Owls. They went in full force. They wanted to stop that. Liberty did find a little bit of success through the air eventually. Not in that case there. They did guard well in the secondary after a while. Sibley had a touchdown. He would get hurt later on. Dante Lee Jr. would find one in the corner, but then the frustration would eventually start to mount. The Owls would get going. You see there on the slant, their athletic wide receivers would find pay dirt multiple times. We talked about the secondary one-on-one situations. Well, the Owls did extremely well there. And then Liberty, it just started to fall apart for them. It was too little too late. The Owls were cooking. The frustration would mount for the Flames, and that was the story in this game. It would be a close but first loss of the year for LU. Yeah, and you see the frustration mounting. And like we mentioned, this team, they've been laxed all year, and they've been able typically to turn it on in Flames quarter, 4th quarter. They weren't able to do it. It was too little too late in that Kennesaw State game. You hope for a bounce back, but yeah, I mean, that was an ugly loss.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me, Pat, Rhett, to give you the hashtag bottom line.
Yeah, bring it in.
The hashtag bottom line is you watch a film.
Yeah.
Just put on the film. It's easy, right? You were watching an offensive line getting whipped up front, right? You talk about, well, we can't run the football. We can't. Well, guess what? This game is won in the trenches. You watch the goal line play down there. Okay, guess what? Liberty's not getting any penetration. Football is a game of grown men in the trenches. Either I move you or you move me. and Liberty got moved. So you're going to find out a lot. This is a pride issue tonight. You're going to find out a lot about Liberty University in those trenches on both the offensive side of the football and the defensive side of the football. If you can't win at the line of scrimmage, you don't win in football, and that's the #bottom line.
Well, winning in the trenches so far this season has been the Gamecocks when it comes to Conference USA play. This is a group that over their last 4 games has absolutely been working it. They have just found their rhythm offensively. It has been terrific to watch and see. You go against Middle Tennessee this past week, and again, just on the ground, they're finding gaps. They're making jukes. They're looking like Joe Yock in his prime, getting out there just in the open field. And I don't know what has clicked for this team in Conference USA play, but it is looking really solid.
Red, I'll tell you the answer what started clicking for this offense. It's conversions on third down. In their 3 losses, they converted on 17% of their third downs on average. In their 4 wins, they're converting 55% on third down. They have figured the run game out. They were rushing for 144 yards per game in the losses. They're now averaging in the last 4 games 430 yards on the ground. That is what it is right there.
Absolutely amazing. You look at the numbers from a team standpoint. I want to point out a few here. When it comes to solely Conference USA play, Trey Stewart leads the conference in rushing yards. You know who number 2 is?
Tell me.
Tyler Huff. Right behind him. It's the 1-2 punch, kind of reminiscent, in all honesty, of Liberty last year in a lot of ways. And also in conference play, Huff, 9 total touchdowns, no picks. He has been taking care of the football.
Yeah, and I think within the run game, whether it's Stewart, whether it's Huff, whoever it may be, is what you look at those highlights once again and you see what do. They get body on body and they create creases. And if you can create those creases and you have, whether it's your quarterback in the run game or your running back in the run game, if you can create the creases, small creases, and you're able to hit those creases with speed, you get to that second level quickly. And that's what they do. They're well coached because they know what their assignment is. They're clear with their angles. They get on bodies and they create small creases which allow those backs and quarterbacks to get through them.
Well,
that's why they're so successful in the running game.
And Joe, to your point, that's why it's so important tonight for Liberty. You have to play assignment clean eyes.
Yes.
You have to execute your assignment because, to your exact point, you give them a crease, they're taking it. They're going to house it. They've got the speed to do so.
You have to be disruptive, okay? So a lot of times in these situations, when you look at those highlights, it's pulling guards, it's 2 tight ends, they go 2 tight ends and try to kick you out. You have to have good film study, see where they're at, see the play coming, and then you have to disrupt it before it ever gets started. If you keep it clean for them, that's when they hit those creases and go. You've got to be upfield, like Pat said, gap control, know your assignment, and then be disruptive. Start it before it ever gets stop it before it ever gets started.
Pat, most underrated running team in the nation. 3rd last year in rushing yards per game, 5th this year.
I don't think you could call them underrated because, like you said, last year they were so good.
How many people that were saying, hey, Jacksonville State, that team can really run? I mean, that's the truth.
It's fair. However, they are putting kind of themselves in the conversation. They're terrific. Rich Rod has brought this offensive scheme. You know, it's a fast-paced offense, get you out of position, make it so that you're not communicating well. For most people are going to be like, oh, yeah, there's your Alabamas, your Georgias, teams like that. Jacksonville State's on the rise. I mean, you can't rush for 430 yards per game and not get noticed.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Well, Gamecock's been putting up points. The Flames hope to respond and put up points in this game as well. Willie Korn is tasked with that, and he caught up with Emily Austin earlier this week.
Midweek on the Mountain continues as Jax State pays a visit to Liberty. Usually we sit down with a player, but we're switching it up a little bit this week, sitting down with co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Willie Korn. Coach Korn, thank you so much for your time. Before we dive into the specifics of this game tonight, I just want to know your overall grade for this offense midway through the season.
Mid-season grade, I would just say when we just haven't been consistent. I think the word is inconsistency. There's one drive where you can come out and go down the field and put points on the board, and then the next drive is a 3 and out. So I think the biggest thing going into the second half is just developing that consistency and getting back on track.
As the play caller, where is your focus heading into the second half of the season, and what have you maybe learned about Caden Salter that you didn't know from last season?
I think the biggest thing I've learned with Caden is I feel like he probably plays at his best when you get him in an early run, you get him tackled early on in the game. That's one of the things that he and I had a conversation about after Game 5, like, hey, because there's some games where we start fast, there's a lot of games where we don't start fast. You know, hey, what can we do as an offensive staff to help you get into that rhythm? Because when you are in a rhythm, and you're locating the ball and you're making decisions like you're capable of making, we're dangerous. We're really dangerous offensively. But sometimes, what do we have to do to kick into that rhythm? And that's one of the things that he mentioned, like just get me an early run, get me tackled early on, just gets me into the flow of the game. And obviously you want to get your quarterback in the rhythm, but also you can't lose sight of your best player. Quentin Cooley's got to touch the football, whether it's a direct, whatever it is, he's got to make sure that he gets the football.
Yeah, speaking of the run game, how difficult has it been for you as a play caller, splitting the series between Billy Lucas and Quentin Cooley, and really just going with the hot hand, but then still getting, like you said, Cooley those touches like he deserves?
Well, I think the challenge of last week was we had over at least 20 snaps were 2-minute drives. The drive before halftime was a 2-minute drive where you're not really running the football, but you're trying to get it down the field and get a score before half. Same thing at the last drive, the 2-minute drive to make it a 3-point game at the end of the game. So we had 20 snaps that were 2-minute drives. So they're really, what Kennesaw did a good job was they limited our possessions. We didn't have very many possessions. You didn't have a lot of normal down and distance plays. So I think that played into it. But you can make up whatever excuse you want to make, but at the end of the day, it falls on my shoulders that I got to make sure that number 20 is getting his opportunities and getting the football his way. And because that's when good things happen for this offense.
This is the first regular season loss that you've experienced since your time here at Liberty and with these players. What has the mood and energy been like at practice this week?
Practice has actually been surprisingly really, really good. I think we kind of drew a line in the sand at that first team meeting after the Kennesaw State game, and we pointed out the corrections that need to be made and the thing where we're falling short. And we said, hey, after we're done with this team meeting, that chapter is closed and we're moving on. We're not going out to this practice and moping around and talking about should, would, could. It's over. We have no power in the past. We have no power in the future either. We have power right now within being in the present. So I think it's actually been a really, really good week of practice. I think the biggest challenge of what we've tried to convey to the guys is we have to play as one team. Sometimes it feels like it's an offense and a defense out there, and sometimes it feels that way at practice, because I think they are very, very competitive, and they want to win every drill. They want to win every, but when it's game day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the offense is better than the defense. Like, we just got to find a way to have each other's backs. So I think that's been the biggest challenge. I think they've had a really good week of preparation, and they haven't carried that loss with them. They're ready to move on and go play.
Speaking of preparation, I know you're not going to give us the full game plan, but what are the keys to beating Jacksonville State offensively?
Well, you have to run the football. You have to establish the run. This is a defense. It's a different structured defense. They don't play with a fourth down lineman. They play with a third safety. So it's really totally different than anything you see. It's a great scheme. Their defensive staff does a tremendous job. So you have to establish the run game. If you can't run the football, it's difficult. There's not as many passing windows because there's a third DB in the game. Once you start establishing the run, you get their secondary more aggressive fitting for the run. They have to be aggressive to fit for the run because they're playing without an extra D lineman. And once you get that, now you get opportunities to potentially hit some shots down the field, which you have to be able to do against this defense. The teams that are moving the ball and playing well offensively against them, they get the run game going, they get the secondary aggressive fitting for the run, and they're able to hit some shots down the field. Now, it can't just be boom or bust in the pass game where it's just shots only, so some of the pass game has to be you're trying to get rubs. They play a lot of man coverage, a lot of press. But at the end of the day, you got to get the run game going. You got to get Quentin Cooley going early to get them to commit to the run, and that'll open up other things in the pass game.
Well, this offense is in good hands. Thanks so much for your time. Best of luck out there against Jax State. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Emily and Coach Korn for the time. When you look at this, we said Quentin Cooley only 9 snaps last game. How much more are you going to see of him early on in this football game?
Yeah, I think you really need to. And I talked to Coach Chadwell, and he had told me, he said, listen, we have got to establish Cooley more. However, what's really sort of hamstrung Liberty this season is teams are saying that we're going to take away your explosive plays. We're going to force you to run the football, and that's what. And they're not having a great deal of success like they were. So last year when they had C.J. Daniels here, a downfield guy, they were able to hit a lot of other people. They were able to hit when Reese Smith was coming along really well. They're able to hit a bunch of explosive plays. And I think the recipe defensively of what the defensive coordinators have figured out with Liberty is you're going to have to show an incredible amount of patience in running the football. If that's what they're going to go 3-down linemen, they're going to get the DB involved. You got, even if you don't get it sometimes, you got to stick with the run game, to get those other DBs involved in the run in order to take those shots downfield. You, as an offensive play caller for Willie Korn, I think it's very important that he shows a great deal of patience.
Well, let's kind of stick with this conversation as we get into our Century Exterior Scouting Report. And if you have questions at home, make sure you fill in the comments there in the YouTube section. If you're watching us on X, jump over to YouTube really quick. Fire some questions. We'll answer them on later here in the broadcast. When you look at Liberty and just their kind of general overall pace offensively on the year, you know, your thoughts from Joe there, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, I think they certainly do lack the big playability. Last season, they finished first in the country in runs of 10, 20, and 30 yards or more. This year, they are 39th, 89th, and 61st. So they're not getting those big hitter run plays. And exactly like you said, you lose your 1,100-yard receiver in C.J. Daniels. Sure, it's going to make life a lot more difficult. There's just been the inconsistency. That's exactly what Coach Korn said. You know, you have a terrific 12-play, 85-yard drive for a touchdown, and then you go 3 and out a couple times. So the inconsistency is what's causing this, and it's the execution that's the problem.
In a lot of ways, though, it's been inconsistency early because we've seen Salter really start to get going in the second half, and we see a bunch of clips here of just this is all first quarter, first half situations where it is out of sync. Is there anything that truthfully you can do to get this going in a smoother fashion from opening kickoff?
Yeah, here's what I think. I think that Liberty has morphed offensively from what they were and what Jamie Chadwell has traditionally been. And what I've seen, this is my personal opinion, I've seen a Caden Salter who is more comfortable standing in the pocket and going through his reads and making throws. You look back to the East Carolina game, that's where they had the most success, was him throwing from the pocket. This is more of the old triple option, RPO game, all those different things. And I think they're going through a little bit of an identity crisis right now on what do they want to be and what is Caden Salter really best at. And if you look at this season and them traditionally, they've had the majority of their success in the passing game with Caden Salter standing in the pocket in a traditional offense and reading the coverage and then making the throws.
All right, let's look now at the Gamecocks. As we mentioned, it's been done on the ground this year. It's a tremendous 1-2 punch in the ground game, but I want to kind of focus in on defensively. This is a group that really, you mentioned, they can turn the ball over. They have a different look than most teams. They're active in the backfield when it comes to their DBs. You know, jump into that a little bit more, Pat, on what this Liberty team has to expect tonight against an athletic D front.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I'll say is a lot of times they're going with this 3-3 stack, you'll see, and then they've got D linemen shifting, moving all over the place. That causes confusion for your offensive linemen because at first I see this guy, he's head up, and now he jumps outside. So it does cause confusion up front. So that's going to be what's important for this Liberty offensive line is communicating and making sure, okay, I'm executing my assignment so that you don't have free runners coming off the edge or so that your back doesn't get blown up in the backfield.
Yeah, 100%, Pat. You couldn't have said it any better. The fact that, you know, when you get into a 3-3 stack, there are so many different multiple looks that they can give you, and the way to beat it, the way to gash it is exactly what you said. If you know who to block when the ball snapped and you can get on bodies, they're going to leave you creases. The problem is it's when it gets all the shifts and all the different ways that you can bring blitzes out of a 3-3 stack, it gets very confusing. If you have clarity of assignment, just like Pat said, you have clarity of assignment and you get on bodies, you can put together a really solid running game.
Really quick offensively, a few numbers I wanted to mention. When you look here, Rod Smith, the offensive coordinator, has done a terrific job of just making it work this season. Last year, they had all of 12 passing touchdowns. This year, they already have 8. Last season, they had 35 touchdowns on the ground, already up to 27 this year. They're going to obliterate that. They have been absolutely cooking here as of late in Conference USA play. Rich Rodriguez, obviously very happy with that, and he is standing by with Matt Warner.
Well, Coach, so much is made out of your offense, and for good reason. But on this win streak, your defense has been playing pretty well also. What do they need to do tonight to slow down the Flames?
Well, we're playing such an explosive team. I got great respect for not only the players that Liberty has, but the scheme that they have. So we got to be really disciplined. We got to limit the big plays. They do a lot of different stuff. We got to be able to have gap integrity, and we got to play really, really well on defense to have a chance.
Visiting team hasn't won here in almost 2 years. Liberty, the defending conference champ. What would it mean for your program to get it done tonight in this environment?
Well, you know, if you're going to win Conference USA, it's got to go through Liberty. They're defending champs. They got a great football program, and we know we got to play really, really well to have a chance.
Appreciate the time, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Well, Coach Rodriguez has obviously a three-headed monster, we're going to call it here on the ground game. You'll say three-headed. I thought it was a 1-2 punch. We'll get to more of that in a second. But you look here, just some of their ability on the ground, the athleticism they have. Trey Stewart has been a ton of fun to watch. I know, Joe, that you think he's very diverse. He can take it wide, but he can also bounce through the tackles as well.
Yeah, I have said this before. When you watch him on film, he reminds me of Omarion Hampton at North Carolina, who's already rushed for over 1,000 yards. And what he does a great job is finding the crease, and then the next thing is his balance at contact. He has great balance at contact where he absorbs contact, bounces off it, and is able to keep his feet and go upfield. But you look at when they put body on body and they find those creases, they have such athletic backs and the quarterback, obviously, that this run game is extremely difficult to stop.
Pat, you're saying Tyler Huff kind of reminds you of an Aggie that has made some noise this season with Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, in watching this guy on film, he really does remind me of Diego Pavia. The way that he navigates the pocket, the way that he runs the ball. Obviously, Pavia now at Vanderbilt gave Liberty all kinds of headaches. He's run the ball almost 100 times this year, the quarterback has. He is not afraid to stick his nose in there. We just saw him take 165 yards to the house against Middle Tennessee State. I like his game, and I actually think he has better weapons on the perimeter than Pavia did. And like we alluded to earlier, this Liberty secondary, I think, is a little bit vulnerable. So I could certainly see him having success on the ground and in the air tonight.
Now, some people might be asking, Logan Smothers, why is he up there? Well, I know he's the backup quarterback this year. He was the starter a season ago. But the guy's still getting it done. He has had some snaps in games as of late, 140 rushing yards. He had a massive run, 72-yarder against New Mexico State. So he's still very much in the mix of this offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that if you're going to run your quarterback that much and you can have two guys that can do it to relieve a little bit of the pressure, it's always a good thing to have that extra guy.
All right, before we go to break, Halloween's tomorrow.
Is it ever?
There's some costumes out here. Let's take a look at some of these. I know Joe Yock, you love the good costume. This is Joe Yock 1980s kind of look here,
that's
right?
my little New Mexico look right there.
Gotta love it.
Speaking of the Aggies.
Yeah, exactly. Superman coming in.
Now that looks more like Pat Kelly right there. With the six-pack abs. Are you kidding me?
Mainly the red boots. I wear those red boots at home like that.
If you're a Super Nintendo fan, you see your good guys here, Yoshi and Bowser in the mix as well.
Yeah, a lot of Nintendo being played at the McGibbon household.
Oh,
yeah, with the Bowser, and you know all the names. I don't know any of their names.
I'm old school. I got that.
Hey, there's Elf.
Oh, yeah.
It's Santa. I know him.
Goodness sakes. I hope he's not eating bubble gum off those
You're a
balls there.
liar. You're a liar. You come from a land of lies.
And then we got
who's that?
That's a pencil head.
Oh, pencil head.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, write it down.
That was and then we got a couple cows in the mix as well.
Cows are always good. Yeah.
I'll be careful on comments on this one. We'll just go Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A with this one here.
Good to see the students arriving here at Liberty University for tonight's game. Make sure you stay with us.
Oh, there's Jason. Okay, there's our hazmat guy.
Good friend.
Hazmat guy. Woody. I mean, good night. You know, you never go to a Halloween party without a hazmat.
Becoming a champion. It's more than one individual's journey. It's about those who came before you and those who will follow you. But most importantly, it's about the team beside you. The ones to mentor you, support you, and cheer you on in all your endeavors. These are the ones that make a champion. So no matter where you go and who you become, we all need a team like Liberty University.
After the final whistle has blown, Join us for the Flames Central Game Day post-game show. We'll bring you the highlights, analyze the impact players, break down the stats, and hear from the Flames. Don't miss out on the post-game analysis that only Flames Central Game Day can provide. Join the Flames Central Game Day post-game show only on the Liberty Flames social media. Flames Central Game Day. It's all about the Flames.
Just over 20 minutes until the Flames and Gamecocks kick off in Lynchburg. Chris Vanini joins us once again with Emily Austin to talk all things Conference USA.
Wow, what a wild week in Conference USA. The race to the championship game is starting to heat up. Welcome to another CUSA Outlook, joined once again by the Athletic senior writer, Chris Vanini. Chris, we'll talk updated standings in just a moment, but first, Sam Houston squeaked by with another victory last night. Quarterback Hunter Watson has been battling an injury since that WKU matchup. How does this team change without a fully healthy Watson? And can the Bearcats defense carry them to the CUSA championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shoulder injury is what it sounds like for Watson, and the offense maybe quite hasn't been there. A 9-3 win against Louisiana Tech was not exactly pretty, but they got it done, and that defense has been really good. I mean, all season, even going back to last year, was probably the strength of their team, and so that is what you may see more of moving forward, depending on how healthy Watson is, how much he can move around. But yeah, Sam Houston's defense looks like it might be the best unit in the conference.
Another midweek matchup happening tonight, Western Kentucky and Kennesaw State. Chris, can the Owls pull off another upset, or are Caden Veltkamp and the Hilltoppers just too good?
I mean, I'm going to go with Western Kentucky, but Kennesaw State, you know, they were winless on the season. They had been competitive in some games, and with Conference USA, I think the difference between the top and the bottom is not all that great, and so you might see some upsets here and there. I mean, remember last year, Liberty almost lost to winless Sam Houston on the last play, so these upsets can happen. So what happened last week with Kennesaw and Liberty, I won't say I was stunned, because I think we knew it's possible in this conference. So perhaps the win, maybe you get that first win and that starts the momentum. I think that's what happened with Sam Houston last year, and it carried into this year.
Upsets seem to be the theme for college football this season. All right, let's take a look at the most updated standings in Conference USA. Western Kentucky and Jax State remain unbeaten in conference play. Sam Houston and Liberty close behind. Now that you've seen a solid sample size of these teams, how do you see it all shaken out?
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a top four. Those four teams you just mentioned, that seems to really be the top tier of this conference. I really like Western Kentucky and what they've done so far, but I know that Sam Houston and Liberty playing in that last game of the regular season, I think there's a really good chance that game will be to determine who also goes to the conference championship game. I think Jacksonville State has played well, but I don't think they're quite at the level of Western Kentucky and Liberty and maybe Sam Houston. So I think end of the year, we're really going to have some big matchups at the end, but I think Western Kentucky will continue winning and stay at the top for now.
So do you see Liberty bouncing back here tonight?
I think so. I think, you know, it's been a while since this team experienced a loss, especially in the regular season. It never had happened under Jamie Chadwell. Sometimes you kind of need that wake-up call. It kind of gets everybody back focused. And so, yeah, I think I'm going with Liberty tonight.
It'll be interesting. And as you mentioned, the last two regular season games, Western Kentucky and Sam Houston. So it'll be exciting to follow along to that championship game. Chris, thanks again for your time. As always, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Emily and Chris. You guys surprised at all? Not saying Jacksonville State potentially in the Conference USA championship game. This is a team that's getting done on the ground. Like, they are hot right now, and you say, I don't think they're quite at that level.
I mean, it feels like there's no hotter team. You know, we were talking before we came on. I think this is a significant challenge for Liberty tonight. He kind of gave the nod to Liberty. I don't know which way I'm leaning quite yet. But, yeah, he was a little more confident in Liberty tonight than I think I am.
Yeah, I think Chris said it well. I think, you know, they hadn't experienced a loss before, and it was a really, really bad loss. And so that's a wake-up call. And you're going to find out after tonight a lot about the resolve of Liberty football, and it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. And I do think I think he's right. I think it'll be a refocus and a wake-up call to come out here and play really well tonight.
All right, let's turn our attention now to our impact players presented by Segra. Zachariah Poyser, defensive back, 3 interceptions on the season.
Yeah, he's something like tied for 15th in the country in interceptions, just seems to constantly be around the ball. They like to play a lot of man-to-man coverage, which I think is going to put him in position to make some plays, and he's proven that he can do that all year long. So I'm interested to see how he comes out and looks tonight.
Only allows an average of 2 receptions per game. He has been locking it down for the Gamecocks throughout this season. As we keep moving on, Joe, Reginald Hughes, linebacker with this group, 29 tackles, 4 sacks on the season.
Yeah, really, really good football player. And what he does well, what a great linebacker is able to do is, can you fill on the outside, and do you have the speed to contain and tackle fill on the inside and have the speed to be able to tackle on the outside? And I think that's his ability to go sideline to sideline is fantastic.
Yeah, the Ole Miss transfer has been a welcome addition to this group, has a 68 overall defensive grade on the year, according to PFF. Pat, as we keep moving on here, Dante Lee Jr. for the Flames, the wide receiver, first year with the team, and due to injury has found himself some playing time, and he's shown some flashes.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that he wears number 9. It's what I wore at Liberty, so he already has favor in my book. He doesn't have gaudy numbers this year, but I think given the opportunities, I think he's going to continue to make plays. He's a guy that I think can stretch the field, average 15, 16, 17 yards per catch. I like his game. I'm excited, again, for him, because there's going to be some man-to-man matchups tonight that he should be able to feast on.
Yeah, he's shown the ability there. And finally, Jerome Jolly Jr., the old man on the team. It's his 5th year, Joe.
Yeah, Jerome Jolly, he has really, really grown into a football player, and he has made a lot of you've seen him continue to improve and make more and more big plays, and I think with the way that they run the ball, he is going to have to be one of those guys front and center that's going to have to create disruption in the backfield.
Yeah, 13 tackles on the season for Jerome Jolly Jr. I remember reading a preview book like 5 years ago saying Jerome Jolly as a freshman was going to get on the field, too much talent not to, and he has really grown, like you said, as a Liberty
good football player
for sure. Well, every sack is a sack to give back. This season, Food Lion Feeds will donate 1,000 meals to a neighbor in need for each Liberty sack this season. Flames with 11 sacks on the year with 71 yards lost. TJ Bush leading the team with 6 sacks.
I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple-double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drive the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Yeah, I need it now. Told him on the lay. I've been moving, dog. Yeah, I'm on the way. I don't hear the talk. Don't care what they say. I don't got no patience. I can't ever wait.
Second down and 9. Pocket runs it towards the end zone. Gets into the 20, the 5, stretches, pylon.
Everyone who's ever believed in you get a chance to shine. Embrace the vision, roar of the crowd. Strike the stone.
This is my time. I'm on the rise. Can't hold me down. I'm too fly. This is my time. Ready to shine. Brighter than all of the lights. 'Cause when it's game time, seconds.
Nope. You don't have to play sports to enjoy them. Get tickets on the Liberty Flames app or at liberty.edu/tickets.
Tucked away in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Lynchburg, Virginia, you'll find us, Liberty University. Here, we pursue excellence in all of our academic endeavors, from anywhere. We fight for victory in our athletic programs and fan the flames with a mighty roar. We equip students with a Christ-centered perspective that changes lives. We are creators, problem solvers, and world changers. But above all of this, we are champions for Christ.
Just over 10 minutes to go until opening kickoff between the Flames and Gamecocks. Glad you're here with us. We saw your YouTube questions. We picked out two. Gavin Blake, his question is, Flames running a lot less triple option this year. Is that due to the fact that Aaron Bedgood is no longer with the program and graduated?
Gavin, that's a really good question. I think not having Aaron Bedgood has impacted this offense in a lot of ways. One, he could, of course, catch the ball out of the backfield. But now there's no one to really strike fear on the perimeter, which is, I think, allowing a lot more pressure focused in between the tackles, letting guys get, really shut down coolly in that inside game. So great question. I think him being gone certainly has impacted it a little bit.
Are you surprised that Von Blue hasn't filled into that role?
I've been beating the drum all year for getting Von Blue involved. It's like every time he touches the ball, he averages 8, 9, 10 yards. And, they're the offensive coordinator and the staff for a reason. But, I just think he has so much potential. I'd love to see him out there on the field.
All right, Joe, we move on. Dan Moyer writes in and he asks, penalty problems. Obviously, it's a big thing. At this point in the season, can you correct them? And then if you can, how?
Yeah, I mean, Dan, you have every reason as you're watching the football game to throw your popcorn bowl on the ground because of the amount of penalties that Liberty's taken. And yes, there is a way to come, because you have to look at penalties in two different ways, okay? You have mental penalties, right? You don't have to jump off sides before the ball snap because you hear cadence or whatever it may be. You can get lined up the right way. You don't have to run after the whistle blows and knock some guy out of bounds and take an unnecessary. Those are mental penalties. Those can be corrected right away, and they need to be corrected. There's no excuse for those. Sometimes you get into penalties that are physical penalties, holding penalties, where a guy's trying to pull away from you, got a hold of his jersey, whatever it may be. The physical penalties are a little bit harder to correct this time of the year. You obviously can keep working out, but first and foremost, you have to. There is no excuse whether it's the first game or the 12th game. You have to clean up the mental penalties.
Yeah, it's been killer for the Flames this year, giving up on average basically entire football field every single game. Let's keep on with our keys to the game. Joe, we're going to go with you first. You're taking a look at the Gamecocks offensively. Again, we've mentioned this is a group that has been getting it done on the ground throughout this year. What's the key for them offensively?
I think they've got to be able to run the football in between the tackles, and they got to get back to creating explosive plays, right? That was the trademark of Liberty. Whether that is a Dante Lee downfield, whether that's like Pat has beaten the drum on the Von Blue, getting them down the seam for something, you got to get back to be able to run the football, and then through that create explosive plays downfield.
And then for the Gamecocks defensively, you want them to be able to contain Salter, because he was getting loose against Kennesaw State.
Yeah, I mean that is it for any defense, is that when if Salter, you talked about Willie Corn when you said earlier in his interview with Emily, is like you get him out in the open, you get him hit, and he starts finding a rhythm, and that's when he gets really, really dangerous, because he can beat you from the pocket, but boy, when he gets outside of containment, he's deadly and he can do a lot of damage. And that's a place where he does a great job of keeping his eyes downfield, and he can still throw the football, extending plays and create those explosive plays.
And then finally, what's the red zone going to be like for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's key. The red zone, if you can protect the red zone and defensively, you got an opportunity, especially this Jacksonville State team. They're 22 out of 26 red zone TDs in the last 4 games.
All right, Pat, take us through Liberty.
All right, so we're going Halloween theme here, right? You've got to do it. So key number 1 for Liberty, offensively, take off the mask, show us your identity. Last week, Caden Salter threw the ball 40 times. In 2023, you know how many times he threw it 40 times?
How many?
0.
Okay.
You know how many times he threw more than 30 passes last year? 0. The identity of this team is to run the football. It's Casper the friendly ghost, not Cooley the friendly ghost. So, get him involved into this game. Second key, we're going with a little candy theme here. It was going to be Reese's Pieces, but my second favorite is a Take 5 bar. So Take 5 being Elijah Canyon, he's got to win his one-on-one matchups. He's going to get opportunities. This year, Jacksonville State has given up 31 pass plays of 20 yards or more. You've got to take advantage when you get the chance to. And then the last one, we'll keep it in the candy realm. Prevent the whoppers. Joe mentioned it, the explosive plays. You have to prevent those big-time plays. That's what's going to do it for Liberty tonight.
Well, it's all coming up in about 5 minutes' time on CBS Sports Network. Joe, Pat, and I will be back here post-game to break everything down. Make sure you tune in then after the final whistle. Hey, it's been a lot of fun. We'll see you right back here right after the game.
keep them strong, allow them to be good stewards of their time and talent.